Welcome back to all my food warriors. Coach Joe here. The temperature is changing, getting a little chillier outside, certainly cooling down at night. So today we're going to make something that is a classic fall dish, something that we've made time and time again. Absolutely love this dish. Risotto with Italian sausage and butternut squash. It is an absolutely fantastic combination. And this is one of those dishes that really warms you up from the inside out. Very, very healthy, very nutritious. But over and above, it's just one of those warming dishes as we start getting into, kind of late summer, it turns into fall, turns into winter. We want something a little bit more substantial, something that really warms you from the inside out. This is one of those dishes. Now, risotto is one of those things. It's like pizza, it's like focaccia, it's like pasta. It's an absolutely blank canvas. And it's the ingredients that you add to the risotto that make it essentially what it is, that make it special and make it unique. So this time we are going to be using Italian sausage and butternut squash. So we're going to start off with butternut squash. This guy's I'd say about 2 pounds. So what we're going to do is we're going to peel this guy and we're going to cut him into about a half to maybe 3/4 inch dice. So to start, we're just going to take the top off. We're just going to take the bottom off, and we're going to give this guy a peel with a vegetable peeler. And all we want to do is just get that skin off. Now, with a very, very young butternut squash, in certain applications, you know what, you can eat the skin, but in this application, I prefer to take it off. You got to give it a good grip on it, because it does get a little slippery as we're starting to take the peel off with a vegetable peeler. So we want to make sure we get all of this off, and then I go right to the ends. And I just clean this up. There we are. There we are. And we're just gonna maybe put it on the board here, get a little better leverage, and just take the rest of that skin off. Now what we want to do is we just want to cut this guy right in half. Are right down the middle, and there's a little cavity here with all the seeds. So what I'm going to do is just get a bowl and a spoon. This is just a regular soup spoon, and I'm just going to go into that cavity in a circular pattern and just yard all of that out. And this entire piece of butternut squash is entirely edible. So we'll do that again. Take our spoon, go right into that cavity, and just turn it right around, hug the edges, and the whole thing should come out in one pop. There we are. Any seeds that stay behind, we can just get in there with the spoon and just scrape those out. But this is a beautifully clean butternut squash. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of our skin, all of our seeds, and just turn these off to the side here. There we are. So now we will take our butternut squash, and what I like to do is usually cut it in and around where this bowl is, because then what happens as we cut these in slices, there we are, you get this little pattern. And then what we can do with this pattern here is basically just cut these into little squares. There we are. Now this is roughly what we're looking for. Maybe a 1/2 inch dice, a 1/2 inch cube to 3/4 inch cube. We want to maintain a good bit of texture as we put this into our risotto. So we're just going to cut this whole thing up. There we are. Remember, this is a rustic dish. Risotto is all about home cooking. There we are. And as we get to this larger section here, what we want to do, we can either cut it this way, or what I like to do is kind of cut it this way. And then once we have 2 or 3, stand them up. We can cut them right down the middle. And then, again, we can make our little squares. There we are. So I am going to cut this whole butternut squash up, and I will see you in about 2 minutes. All right, we've got our butternut squash beautifully cubed up. Again, this is just a rustic dice, somewhere between, you know, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch. And now what we want to do is we want to caramelize this beautiful butternut squash. Butternut squash, as far as squash go, has a fairly high residual sugar content, which is great because it caramelizes beautifully. It brings a great deal of natural sweetness to the dish. And what we want to do is just basically saute this off in a pan and bring out those natural sugars and start to caramelize the squash. So we're not going to cook this with the risotto. We're going to add it right at the end. And great effect, absolutely fantastic effect. So I've got some extra virgin olive oil, maybe a good 4 or 5 tablespoons in my pan here, and I'm going to put all of my butternut squash in there. You'll notice I changed my pan up, as I've got a little bit more squash than I was anticipating, but that's okay. This is going to easily serve 6 people, 6 hungry people, and so always good to get a little bit more vegetable content into your diet and certainly into the dish anytime we can. If we have a little bit left over, this is an absolutely fantastic side dish. I'm telling you, if you don't like vegetables and you're not big on squash, butternut squash is really, I think, worth a try. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a little bit of salt and pepper just to start to bring some of the natural sugars to the surface. There we are. And we're going to give this just a quick stir. Now you can make this on a big stove top if you've got enough space. You can make this at the same time as you're making your risotto, but seeing as I only have a couple of burners here on the countertop, I am going to fully cook through my butternut squash here. I'm going to beautifully caramelize this, and then I'm going to set it off to the side and make my risotto separately and add this in at the end. So I'm going to give this, I'd say a good 15-20 minutes or so over medium, I'd say medium-high heat, and we're going to allow those sugars to come out and caramelize. So I will see you in about 20 minutes. We are back. Our squash is beautifully caramelized. The smell in the kitchen is absolutely glorious. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to taste one of these guys just to make sure they're softened through. They look like they are, but we're just going to give one of these guys. Look at that. Sweet and nutty, absolutely fantastic. So what I'm going to do, and all I have in this pan, salt, pepper, olive oil, that's it. What I want is the real flavor of the butternut squash. So I'm just going to cut the heat. We're going to give this guy one last stir, and then we're going to take him right off the burner. Now, when we are doing our butternut squash here, it's important, you want to make sure you're fairly close to the stove when you're cooking these, because of the sugar content in these can go from golden brown to black in a hurry. So we're just going to take these guys, just take them, put them right off the heat. Butternut squash, just a word on those. Is this an authentic recipe? Is this, if you go to Italy, are you going to find risotto with sausage and butternut squash? Honestly, I have no idea. This is a recipe I came up with because I think butternut squash and sausage is a great combination in a risotto. Butternut squash is one of those superfoods. It's got potassium, magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin B6, loads of dietary fiber. It's great to help regulate blood pressure. It's great to help regulate your healthy weight. So loads of vitamins, minerals, dietary fiber. This is one of those things that you really want to get into your diet with some regularity. So now, onto the risotto. This is just going to sit by itself. It's going to cool. We're going to add this right at the end. I'm going to take my pan, just get my broth on here so that it's heating up as well. What I have here is about 2 liters of a good quality chicken stock. This is one that I've purchased. So if you are going to purchase a good quality chicken stock, if you make your own, fantastic. If you purchase one, please get either the low sodium or even better, no sodium. So no salt added. They're all over the place in good grocery stores. I added a couple of pinches of salt because I want to be able to control the amount of salt that I have in my cooking and in my diet. I could easily make this with pre-made sausages. I do make my own sausages. I don't happen to have any at the moment, but if you do happen to find a good Italian sausage, good quality Italian sausage with a seasoning profile that you like, by all means, please feel free to use those. All you would do is go to your butcher, get a pound of sausages. You can cut them right out of the casing and throw them right into your risotto pan here. What I have here is about 4 or 5 tablespoons of a good quality extra virgin olive oil, and I have about a pound of just good quality lean ground pork. So in the absence of sausage, we're going to make sausage as we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this on the heat. I'm going to season my pork here with just a pinch of salt and a little bit of freshly cracked black pepper. In my bowl here, I have a tablespoon of fennel seed and just regular Spanish paprika, the sweet paprika. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this onto my pork, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take kind of a wooden paddle here and just break this up right into the olive oil. And as I do that, I'm incorporating all of those spices right into my ground pork, and this way I'm seasoning my sausage right in the pan. Now what I want to do is work all of this through, and then I want to cook this to a nice deep golden brown, because that's what's really going to allow the spices to bloom, and that's what's going to caramelize the meat and bring some additional flavor to the party here. Now, ordinarily, if you're buying or making a good quality Italian sausage, you would typically have, if it's a spicy sausage, some red pepper flakes, maybe some garlic. I'm going to put all of that fresh into my risotto as I'm cooking it. So we're going to start things off. As my meat here is browning off, I've got a couple of cloves of garlic, I've got 1 white onion, and I've got the usual chili. So we're going to start off with our garlic. We're just going to give this just a quick crush. These are 2 decent sized cloves of garlic, and all I'm going to do is just cut this up very, very fine. There we are. What I want to do is for this garlic to just melt as the risotto cooks, and this way you don't get any big honking pieces of garlic under your teeth. Contrary to popular belief, Italians don't cook with a load of garlic. That's a complete myth. They do enjoy the flavor of garlic, but a little bit more muted. Not quite at the forefront, such as are some of the dishes that you find here in North America. So we are going to give this, there we are, just give this a quick stir. There we are. Alright. And we are just going to continue to break this up. Like I said, if you do find a butcher that you like, and he does make a good sausage, by all means, just buy a pound of sausage, cut the casing off, put the meat in the pan, and that way it's already pre-seasoned for you. Now with our onion, there we are. I'm just going to cut our onion up into kind of a medium fine dice. There we are. Now, is this risotto completely authentic? Would you go into a specific region of Italy and find a butternut squash risotto with sausage? Honestly, I have no idea. But, like I always say, my kitchen, my rules, your kitchen, your rules. It's not like the risotto police are going to show up at your door and haul you off to prison. So if you try it and you like it, and it's healthy and nutritious, you know what, feel free to make this recipe your own. This is one that I came up with kind of late into the fall and over the winter months. It's one of those dishes that just warms you from the inside out, and it's very, very, very healthy for you. So let's just take off our stem end of our chili, and we're just going to cut this up very fine. There we are. Perfect. So now we have the rest of our vegetables here. Those are going to season our meat. We're just going to give this a little while longer to continue browning. And then once this is fully brown and starting to get a little bit crispy on the edges, we'll be right back, and we'll get right back in there with our vegetables. I will see you in about 3 or 4 minutes. All right, we are back. Our pork sausage mixture has browned beautifully, and now we're just going to throw in our vegetables here. So what we've got, again, our onion, a couple of cloves of garlic, and our chili peppers. If you don't like it quite so spicy, by all means, feel free to omit the chili altogether, or you can just split the chili down the middle, yard out the seeds and the pith, which is that white membrane on the inside. That's what really all the aggressive heat is. You can take that away and you'll get a much gentler heat. I like something a little more aggressive, so you know what? I'm going to put that whole chili right in there, because that is where the essence of the chili lies, in my opinion. I want all of that heat because Coach Joe likes it a little spicy. Now, if you've moved this over with your hands, now would be a good time to wash your hands. Make sure we get all of the remnants of the chili off your hands. You don't want to be poking your eyes or touching other sensitive parts of your body. This is a mistake that you'll learn once, and believe me, you won't do it again. So we're just going to give our vegetables here a little bit of salt and pepper, and we're going to mix this right, oh, we're going to smell that, right into our sausage mixture here. Now all we want to do is just sweat down these vegetables. So we just want our onions and our garlic to sweat down, to be translucent, and we just want to cook some of that aggressive heat right out of the chili. There we are. Oh, the smell in this kitchen is absolutely fantastic. I really think you'll like this combination. It's good for you. This recipe will feed 6 hungry people, but I really hope you try this. This is a really unique way to use butternut squash, and if you're not a big eater of squash, big consumer of squash, it's a great way to get squash into your diet. And really, this is a really food-friendly squash to be eating a little bit more of. Great for you, and it's a great recipe given all of the other complementary ingredients that really play well with the squash. There we are. So our onions are starting to cook down. Just going to make sure our stock here is coming up to temperature, and it is. So I'm just going to turn that down a little. Now what I have here, this is 500 grams of carnaroli rice. Typical risotto rice, arborio, carnaroli, vialone nano. Carnaroli is my favorite, and certainly one of the more readily available varieties. Arborio, carnaroli are the two that you'll find most frequently in most good quality supermarkets. I find this is the one that gives you the best result, cooks most evenly, and really is one of the most reliable risotto type rices that I've used in my cooking. So what I'm going to do now that we have our vegetables translucent, I'm just going to pour my rice right into the pan, and I'm going to give this a quick stir. And what I want to do here is get all of the juices and all of the fat that's at the bottom of the pan, coating each grain of rice. Just like that. And what I want to do is really toast the rice. This is the classic risotto technique. And what I want to do is just get those grains of rice toasting, and I want to pay attention until I can smell some of the toastiness of that rice. Oh, it's starting to come out. What I want to do is just give that just a quick stir. I don't want any of the rice to stick to the bottom of the pan. I just want to make sure that I've coated each and every grain so that they all cook evenly. They toast, which brings a certain amount of nuttiness to the end product, but they will all cook uniformly as I add my chicken stock. There we are. There we are. Our stock is hot. Before we add our stock, I have a good 5 ounces of a dry white wine, either a Pinot Grigio, Orvieto, Suave, they all work. I'm just going to add that right into my pan. And as we say with risotto, the rice is born in water, but dies in wine. So now we'll give this a quick stir, and as soon as we see the bottom of that pan dry up, we are going to start to add in our chicken stock. So we'll give this just a little stir. There we are. We're going to give this a couple of ladles to start. There we are. And we're going to keep stirring. And all I want to do every time I notice that the bottom of my pan is dry, it's another ladle or two of chicken stock until we are all done. So this is going to go for about another, I'd say 15 to 18 minutes. I will see you in about another 10 with a progress report. All right, it's been about 15 minutes. I have just added the last of my stock. And again, in the classic risotto method, all we want to do is add a couple of ladles, maybe a ladle, ladle and a half, 2 ladles at the most, every 2 or 3 minutes as the pan starts to dry up and as the rice starts to soak in all of that stock. Very, very important. We want to be stirring this every so often, and the reason being is the more we stir, the more we get those rice grains to rub up against each other, and that's what releases the starch into the risotto, and that's what gives it that famous creaminess that we just can't fake. Right? So proper risotto, there's no cream, there's no butter. It's all about the rice. So just added the last of my stock. We're going to give this another, I'd say maybe 3 or 4 minutes just to absorb the last of this stock. What I've also done in preparation, I've got my Parmigiano Reggiano. This is freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano. It's about 100, maybe 110 grams of cheese. So not a whole lot by weight, but it's just very, very fluffy. I use one of these when I grate my cheese. This is a microplane grater. Very, very fine. When you grate it again, you get these really, really fluffy, airy ribbons of cheese. They melt immediately into the risotto. You don't get these big clumps of cheese, but most importantly, this is grated off a bigger block. This is not that stuff you buy in the red and the green jar. And you know what I'm talking about. We can do better than that. So, big block of Parmigiano Reggiano. We grate it nice and fine, about 100 grams. This is going to go in right at the end, just before we add our butternut squash. So we're going to give this another 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll be right back. I think our risotto is done. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kill the heat. I'm just going to grab this guy, put him right on our towel here, because as we mix in the cheese, a little warm. We don't want this to be on the heat. So, oh, look at that. Look how creamy that is. This is what we call all'onda, on the wave. You don't cut risotto with a knife and a fork. You shouldn't be able to put it in a mold and stack it 6 inches high. It's meant to be oozy and creamy right in the bowl. So, off the heat, we're going to take our cheese. We're going to put that right in there. Make sure we get every last little bit. And then we're just going to stir this in. And this is what we call mantecare. We want to incorporate that cheese into the risotto and just develop that beautiful, beautiful, creamy, silky consistency. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Now, the reason why we haven't added the squash yet, as we would be stirring that cheese in, If the squash was in here, we would be breaking it up, and we don't want to do that. We want to maintain the integrity of the squash. So what we're going to do now is we are just going to fold this right into our risotto. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. There we are. And we are just going to fold this through. We want all of those butternut squash, those little jewels, to stay separate, to stay intact. Oh, just like that. Oh, just stunning. I wish you could smell this. Just the aroma coming off this pot is absolutely fantastic. All right. So now, it looks good, but the proof is always in the tasting. So let's get a couple of ladles in here. And now let's look at that beautiful consistency. Is it on the wave? Oh, I'd say it's on the wave. Alonda, absolutely beautiful. Now, because this is really hot, we want to make sure we eat along the outside of the bowl. So we're just going to give this a little try. Creaminess of the rice, saltiness of the cheese, a little bit of spice from the pepper, that fragrance from the fennel seed, the savoriness from the meat, the sweetness from the butternut squash. We taste it all. Absolutely spectacular. This is a great winter warmer. This is something that will keep you warm from the inside out. Very, very healthy. I do hope you try it. Do like and subscribe to the channel. Share this with your friends if you find this useful at all. As always, this is Coach Joe. I will see you on the next one.